Hi, financial feminists. I sat down for a live conversation with Credit Karma to talk about all things I wish I learned about money sooner and to answer your biggest questions about credit cards, debt, credit scores, and more. So special thanks to Credit Karma for sponsoring this episode. I have used and loved them for almost a decade, and they're a fantastic resource for you all too. Head to herfirst100k.com/ffpod to get personalized, judgment-free insights on how to pay off debt and make your money work harder for you from Credit Karma. And we've got the link over there. Let's get into it. Hi, financial feminists. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you all. I am Tori. I've helped over 5 million women be better with money. And today we are live in the heart of New York City to talk with Courtney Alev, consumer advocate at Intuit Credit Karma. We're talking all things money advice you wish you had taken sooner, credit, debt, savings, and more. So my first question for you, if someone took your lessons to heart, how could their life change?
They would have more freedom. Freedom to be able to leave a bad situation, a toxic relationship, a toxic job, opportunities to be able to do more things that bring you joy, whatever that might be, and less stress, freedom from worrying about money every single day, and instead of seeing it as a tool that can really be applied to help you achieve your goals. And so that's my goal for what we're talking about today.
It's my exact same goal too, so
Perfect.
I love it. You mentioned a bit of this off mic, but tell me who you are and why this work is so important to you.
Yeah, I am a consumer financial advocate at Credit Karma. So I get to spend my day trying to figure out how to build products that millions and millions of people use every single day to really make progress in their financial life. And progress is so personal. It's whatever that day, that week, that month that they need. And so I am so inspired by the work that you do, Tori, and out there just really helping women especially come together to figure out how we can help each other make progress when it's often a topic that isn't talked about. It's taboo. It's kind of under the radar. And bringing that conversation to the forefront is what keeps me going every day.
One of the things you mentioned that I talk about a lot in my work is that personal finance is very personal, yet there are like these certain metrics or these things we all want to do when it comes to finances. So my first, diving right in question is, how do we determine the things that we actually want and our priorities for us versus just what we should want or what we should aspire to?
It's such a great question, one that I personally have wrestled with probably for many years in my life. But it really, to me, comes down to values. I think there's having your basic needs met, and that's going to look differently for different folks.
Yep.
But, whether that's housing, whether that's safe transportation, whether that's, comfort for your family, those are kind of table stakes. But then past that, it becomes like, how do I want to be spending my time? What gives me the feeling of a fulfilled life? And that's looks so different to everyone. And that's both the beautiful thing about it, but also the hardest thing about it, because everyone's path is going to look a little bit different. But that's why it's so important to be having those conversations and taking that time to reflect on what you want.
Yeah. Let's talk about credit, because I joke it's like your adulting GPA.
So true.
Of like, how well are we doing?
And
I think it's one of many topics in personal finance that is so jargon heavy and seems like, I don't know, I'll try this and see what happens to my credit score. And only after the impact do you realize if that worked or not.
Totally.
So can you walk us through specifically if somebody's in their 20s, like how do they think about building credit?
Totally. I love the idea of your adult GPA or financial GPA, because it's like, what are these numbers? What do they mean? Why is it going up or down? And it can feel like very confusing, but I think especially for folks in their 20s and getting started, it's just recognizing that credit, while it might be a little confusing or intimidating at first, is so important to really, really understand, because it's going to be that kind of backbone of your financial life. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was constantly surprised at how many things required a credit score, getting a cell phone bill, like renting an apartment. And so getting that off to a good start is so important. And the number one thing you can do is, if you have a credit card or other credit, a loan, make sure you are making those payments on time. That is the foundation which everything is based off of.
Yeah. I always think about like on time and in full if you can.
Exactly.
Talk to me about some of the hacks for boosting your credit score. Like, I have my secret hack, and I'm sure you're going to say it, but like, what are the easier ways that we can build the credit in addition to, on time and full payments?
Totally. I love the on time and in full kind of number one goal. There's a lot of different hacks. There's a lot of different information out there. I think it can become very overwhelming and complicated when you start diving in. The couple things that I would really recommend, I think like getting a credit card and using it responsibly, that sounds very simple, but it's so important. One thing I love to encourage folks to do, especially who are maybe newer to credit and maybe they're intimidated of, I have, access to money, like I don't want to go into debt, I'm scared, is to just get that first card, put like one recurring thing on it, right? Put your Netflix on it, put your Spotify, whatever your stream, whatever your tiny subscription of choice is, and set it on auto pay. And then, 12 months goes by, you've spent maybe $100 on that card, it's paid off in full. You have that year of credit history. The other one that I think is really important, especially for newer to credit folks, if you're like me, my first credit card had a $500 limit.
That was me.
Yeah,
that was mine.
Right?
My little Discover card with like it had like a record on it. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Like, I thought I was so cool.
Yeah. I had a Wells Fargo one that had my picture, but this was many years ago. I'm not going to date myself completely, but it was so pixelated. It was just like kind of random face.
Oh, it's like on a Costco card or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah. Your Costco membership.
But I felt like it's personalized to me. But that was a big one because I had to, buy one thing and all of a sudden my credit utilization was super up. That's when you're using most of your credit that's available to you, and that can hit your credit. So the other hack that I really employed, especially in those early days, was paying off my credit card every 5 days, every 7 days. It was only due every month. So there's a lot of little things like that you can start tweaking. But I love to hear your number one hack.
No, all of those are really smart.
Yeah.
Mine is the credit utilization. So like you said, it's how much credit are you utilizing? So if you have a credit card with a line that's $10,000 and you spend $3,000, you're using 30%. If you can get it under 30% or really under like 10%, we've seen crazy increases in our community. I've seen personal increases of just you ask for a credit line increase and then you don't use it. Yes. So you go to your credit card company and they all want you to spend more money. And so you go, hi, can I have a $15 or $15,000 credit line? And of course they'll be like, yes, because we want you to spend more money with us. And then you just don't use it. And suddenly that utilization rate is way lower, even though you're doing your normal spending.
Exactly. And another one that I learned too late in my 20s was that if you have a card and you're not using it anymore, maybe I think this has gotten a little bit easier, but I used to go into the mall and be like, hey, do you want 20% off your whatever old store? Like, sure, I'll open up a credit card. And then you stop using it and you close it. But like that credit limit that you might have on those cards was actually contributing towards that
credit length of history.
Credit. Yeah. So obviously we never want anyone, including myself, to keep a card open if you're tempted by it or like not going to use it responsibly. But it's something to be actually really thoughtful of. And that's something that I wish someone had told me earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big proponent of credit cards. If anybody follows me, if anybody's listening, they know like I love credit cards. But I think it's a tool. Like it's a knife. Knives can make you dinner and they can also send you to the hospital. It's like if misused, it will not work well for you. And it's the same thing with credit cards. If you do not feel like you can manage them responsibly, they might not be the tool for you. However, if you use them correctly, not only are you going to get free stuff with points and miles, but you also get so much protection that you might not have with a debit card. And I think that's my favorite part is like my phone got stolen a couple of years ago when I was in London and I got a free phone because like I had cell phone insurance with my credit card. So there's so much there.
Exactly. I think back to maybe my mid-20s and getting that credit card sign-up bonus and getting an international flight for free. Yeah. And
taxes
how mind-blowing that was, right? And so it's awesome seeing people taking advantage of that.
Yeah, the first time I turned left on a plane, when you turn left, business class, and it was taxes and fees. It was so nice. It was like a $14,000 ticket, and I got it for a couple $100. Did
you stare to the right and think maybe if you all worked a little harder?
Oh, I was like, maybe if you didn't follow her first 100K, you're turning to the right.
There you go. You should have that on the little curtain that they close.
Oh, that's so funny.
Your Instagram handle.
Just have it tattooed on my forehead.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the best strategies for paying down debt while improving your credit. Like, can we do both at the same time?
You absolutely can, and they're so tied together.
Yeah.
The first thing you want to do, and I have had so many friends over the years, both just in my personal life and then also knowing what I do for work, have been like, I have a lot of debt, but I don't want to know. I'm going to look like I'm going to be an ostrich. And so it's really hard to do anything unless you know where you stand. So if you're trying to either improve your credit or pay down debt, like figure out what you owe, right? That's the number one thing that you want to do. And then figuring out how much you can throw towards that debt, like you mentioned, making sure that you're always paying your bill on time. Ideally in full, but if you're carrying in debt, you're probably not. And then looking at your budget to be like, what's the most amount of money I can throw towards this? Making sure to focus on that higher interest debt, like a credit card over a student loan, depending on your specific financial situation. And you should start to see as you're paying down that balance, that utilization that we're just talking about going down, which is going to then increase your credit score. So it's a very exciting cycle once you can hop on it, where like you're both seeing your debt numbers go down and your credit score numbers go up. So
yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah. One of the biggest questions I get that is a little controversial. I know.
I'm ready.
Controversial.
Yeah.
It's going to be so spicy, everybody. Should you save first or pay off debt first? That's the crazy question.
Oh.
And I have personal finance is personal, and then I have a few hard and fast rules. So should we save first or pay off debt?
Love the question. I have gone to spicy debates about exactly this several times in my life.
I love that this counts as spicy for us, like financial nerds. We're like, how many hours do you have? Let's debate it.
Don't get me started on avalanche versus snowball. Go back to that.
So save first or pay off debt?
So I am personally a proponent of paying down your debt first. But there is... but wait for it. There's a caveat.
It's not what I thought you were going to say. We're literally going to have to debate this the rest of the episode.
Okay, great. No, it's... There's the great thing about personal finance being personal is that there's no one way path. So to caveat my response, I would always recommend that people save a little bit of a cash cushion, even with debt. It's helpful both for like a mental and emotional win. To be like, I have $500 in the bank. I have $1,000 in the bank. It is so exciting when you save not just your first 100K, but maybe your first 1K, right? And so I think that's really important. But one trap I see people fall into all the time is they have that emotional attachment to the $5,000 in their savings, but they're carrying $10,000 of debt on their credit cards and they're paying 20% interest.
Yeah.
And they're actually like losing so much money, but they're so proud and so tied to that $5,000, which I understand it's like an emotional commitment. But those are the situations where I really like to explore with people like, hey, maybe we could put some more of that towards that debt.
Yeah.
My spicy take is really specific to high interest debt and like holding cash, but gets obviously more complicated when you're looking at things like a mortgage or student loan, stuff like that.
And when we're talking about high interest debt, it's usually credit cards, right? We're looking at 18, 20, 30% interest as opposed to a mortgage, which as of this recording is about 7-ish%. So, I mean, I am savings first for a couple reasons. One is that, like, if an emergency happens, I need you to have something in the bank. So you're not going into debt trying to pay for an emergency. The second thing is, like, speaking of like the mental health, like I think going to bed at night knowing you have something in savings that if you got laid off or if something happened tomorrow morning, like if shit completely hit the fan, you're going to be okay. Yeah. And then the third thing, because, you know, we coach primarily women, like I need you to have an F-off fund. Like I need you to have enough money that if you get sexually harassed at work, if you realize, actually, I don't want to live with this partner anymore. If like, I've had friends who move into an apartment and they're like, this is not a safe place to live. Like, I need you to have enough money to get out. But I also think there is that tension between, I know I need savings, but also this debt's eating away. And it's hard. It's hard to navigate both of those.
Totally. And I love that, just that concept of that emotional fail-safe, right? Like, I want everybody, especially women, to have that F-off fund and be comfortable with it. I do think it's a really interesting example of like just how dynamic and emotional money is. Like I love this topic for exactly that reason. It is, everyone's gonna have a different perspective. I completely agree that like having that emergency fund, that savings to be able to escape is important. But I do challenge people when it's like, I have $12,000 in cash and I have $12,000 in the credit card. Like, let's talk about what that balance is and like, is that the right amount of money to be paying in interest? But again, it's different for everybody.
Yeah. Can I do an audience Q&A really quick where you like raise your hand for me? Do you believe that you have to be good at math to be good with money? Everybody's shaking their head. I'm shocked. That's the common thing we hear a lot is like money is about numbers. And especially for women, it's like, it's about being good at math or being good at numbers or like being good at spreadsheets. And like, I love getting freaky in the spreadsheets, but like I majored in theater and communications in college. Like it is such an emotional thing. And I think that's why women are better with money when we actually learn to manage it. And I think there's so much focus on what is the numbers? What is the compound interest? And I'm like, no, everything's an emotional choice. Like whether it's, taking on debt and feeling the shame around debt or, I'm going to Taylor Swift and I'm spending this money. I feel so excited. Like
called out me.
Truly. I was there too. I was there when she announced 1989 Taylor's version. That was a big day. But it's like, it's so emotional. And I think that we forget that often because we get caught up in the numbers. So can we talk about, we're talking about debt and we're talking about credit. There's so much shame and guilt attached with both of those. How do we work through those emotions in a productive way as opposed to feeling bad every time we go spend money, even on things we love?
I think the first thing is just recognizing that we're not alone. It's such an individual journey. I know I felt plenty of shame, whether it's finances or other areas in my life. And then you look up and you look around, you're like, I am not alone. Other people are going through this. And just seeing what you're doing with your community and just having people look around and say like, we can talk about these things. Like we can actually connect and understand what's going on and realize that we're in it together, though we're on our own individual personal financial paths, is really interesting. And one of the trends that's come up recently in the personal finance space, we hear about things like doom spending, which I just think is like one of the funniest and most relatable
recession
things.
Indicator.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, of course we want a little treat, right? Like you look aside, it feels like everything's on fire. Like I need that matcha latte. Like get off my back. But I think like just figuring out how to be mindful and also just taking those moments to reflect on, is this something that really is going to make me feel better? Or is it just something that in that moment I am enjoying but might regret later? And like, so that bringing up that mindfulness, as cheesy as it sounds, like has such an important role to play in our financial journeys.
I always say that nothing tastes worse than a pina colada on the beach with a side of guilt. And it's like,
so true.
If you're going to spend money on something that you really love, I want you to never feel guilty about that. And I think so many people ostrich, which is the same term I use, which is like bury their head in the sand, act like their problems don't exist. And, the word budget, right, gets a kind of, it's like a dirty word. It's like, I don't want to be restricted. And I'm like, no, your budget is your gas gauge in your car. So you know how far you can drive, right? And so many people just start driving around without knowing what's going on. And then they end up broken down on the side of the road at 2 a.m. without cell service. And like, that's what happens when you don't look at your money. And so I want your spending to be something that feels so good the entire time, not, oh, I got my credit card bill back and I can't actually afford it. Because then that beautiful experience, whatever you spent your money on, is now tainted.
Yes. And a couple of my ostrich friends, who I refer to with love, the anticipation is way worse than the reality of actually coming to terms with it.
Totally.
So sitting around, I know what it's like. I know it's like I just got to send that one email before I go to bed, and 3 hours later, I still haven't sent the email, and then the email takes 2 minutes to send. You're like, why didn't I just send it? Right? Like that first step of anything that you're procrastinating on, especially something that feels so hard and emotional, is the hardest part. But like everyone, even people I know had 6 figures of debt, it's very scary. There's an empowerment to know this is where I stand and where I have a starting point, instead of feeling like it's something that's happening to you, like out in the ether.
Yeah. It's like a horror movie. It is
truly
worse when you don't know what the monster looks like.
Yes.
Because then you dream the worst, scariest thing in your head, as opposed to, this is it. I'll figure it out. I'll manage it.
Exactly.
As opposed to, what's under your bed or in your closet. Okay. I talk about high yield savings accounts all the time.
I love it.
I love them. They're my favorite. Again, speaking of tattoo on my forehead. Interest rates are going down though.
Yeah.
Are high yield savings accounts still worth it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think so too.
Did I pass the test? No. Absolutely agree. The high yield savings accounts are such a wonderful tool, and I'm always surprised, but also excited for the opportunity when I find out someone doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Like, this is a time to make a really important step. Even if interest rates are lower than they might have been X number of months or years ago, that is still passive income or interest that you're earning on your money.
Yep.
And you're still building that savings, which we just talked about, is so important, especially for women. You're still building that in a place where you can easily access it and it's insured. And that is the best place to be keeping that emergency fund or that F-off fund, or whatever you want to call it, for yourself. And so regardless of the interest rate, open one if you don't have one. And then also remember that interest rates, if you look over history, they go up and down, right?
Yep. So
you're going to see those fluctuations. It's better to be building that savings habit now, regardless of what your interest rate is.
For somebody who might not know, what is the difference between a high yield savings account and like your normal savings account?
A high yield savings account has much higher interest than your normal savings account.
Yep.
Sometimes to a shocking degree, 10x, 20x, depending on the day.
Yeah.
And you can often find them offered through online banks that don't have a physical presence that enables them to give you that higher interest rate by using lower costs. But a lot of people find that that's fine. You might not need to actually go into a bank branch. But generally they're easy to open. You can open with like maybe not one click, but a couple of clicks.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some recommendations.
We do on our website.
Yeah. And you're welcome. Little pitch. But it's so easy, and it's one of the most simple, I think, personal finance recommendations you can give is like everyone could use one.
And it's a quick win. And there's I always joke, it's the one personal finance thing that isn't too good to be true.
Totally.
Like you're like, what's the catch? And I'm like, there really is no catch.
Yeah.
And you work really hard for your money should work just as hard. And I think that's the perfect side.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked about doom spending. There's so much pressure always to, whether it's, keeping up with the Joneses, but also like social media now is just like, how do we consume and how do we TikTok shop and how do we, like, there's temptation to spend at all hours of the day from our phone that's in our pocket.
Mhm.
So how do we determine, you were mentioning, how do we find the things that actually are going to feel good that aren't just like quick dopamine hits?
Yes, I am a self-professed clicker on Instagram ads that I've like really been trying to work. I'm
What's the
coming out. I'm
craziest thing you
confessing.
bought? What's the craziest thing you bought?
Oh, probably like way too many dog bandanas. I only have one dog. She could only wear so many at once. But
Your dog's covered in bandana.
I know.
It's not even a dog, it's just a bandana now.
We're just gonna have like a bandana wall for the dog.
Mine was wrinkle reducing stickers.
Oh, you got those? I resisted.
2020.
Did they work?
I don't know. I don't know. Do they work? I don't know. I could not control anything in COVID. And that was like, I can control my wrinkles. I can control my 11s right here. And while I'm home,
well, you look great.
Thank you. Wasn't fishing today. I was fishing a little bit. No, but that was the stupidest thing I ever bought.
I think I was telling someone this earlier. One of the funniest things for me that I get targeted with is, they try to prey on your insecurities, right? Like, do you want to be more fashionable? Do you want to be like more successful at work? And like, that's what you see. And they have a lot of data on like billions of us. And somehow the algorithm thinks that I want to be an it girl. This is, I want to be clear. This is nothing I have ever expressed interest in being, but I'd be like, you need the it girl phone case and the it girl watch and the it girl necklace. I'm like, get off my internet. And so I think
you've just said it girl into your phone.
Oh no.
And it's like,
hopefully everyone's on airplane mode.
That's so funny.
So I think like for me, it's so easy and like they're getting smarter and smarter. And it's fun to like go on TikTok. It's fun to go on Instagram to a point. But the couple of techniques that I use and I recommend, like one, just like add a little friction to the process. Yeah. It is crazy. I think one time I woke up like, oh, I ordered that. It's like one click, like Apple Pay. It's like got sent to me. Don't do that. So like remove those saved addresses, remove the saved credit card information. Things like that can make a big difference. And then my other personal favorite thing that I do is I have like I'm a big user of like Apple Notes on like my phone and my laptop. And I have a list of like things I want but probably don't need. And so if I'm like seeing something out in the wild, I'll write it down like it girl phone case, dog bandana. And then I tell myself to wait like X amount of time, right? Like I love the month, even just try a week. Cause I've even noticed, and I like work in personal finance, right? I'm thinking of this all the time. And I still have done so many things where I bought that thing. And a week later, I'm like, why did I buy the thing?
Or the box gets delivered and you're like, I could not tell you what's in that box.
Exactly. There's like 5 different copies of The Life of a Showgirl waiting for me at home in San Francisco. So I'll probably give those out to my Swiftie friends. But I'm often surprised that even in a day or like 2 days, like, oh, I really don't actually need or want that thing. And so try it. It's very rare that like you see some ad and it's like gone forever, never to be found again, like a week later. That's something that's been really helpful for me. I recommend.
I do the same. And I think that's such a helpful tip because just giving yourself time, like even 48 hours.
Yeah.
Like think it over. You probably will not remember it in 48 hours. And if you do, that means you really want it. So great. My other favorite one, it's like a little woo-woo, but it's so helpful, is just like ask yourself, like, what is this serving? Yeah. Like, if I'm buying this thing, why am I buying this thing? And if the answer truly is to make myself feel better right now, maybe that will make you feel better. But maybe there's an alternative choice. Yeah. Like maybe you do need to just go on a walk. Maybe you need to cry in the bathtub. Like there is other options. It ends up being a vice in that way. Just like you might reach for alcohol or something. It's like, ask yourself, like, why do I want this thing? And how is it going to make me feel, not just right now, but when potentially the guilt creeps in.
Totally.
And I love spending money. I am not the financial expert. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Like I am going to tell you that you can spend money, but I don't want you spending your hard-earned money on things you don't give a shit about because that's not helpful.
One of the things I was just thinking about with that was I might once in a while, choose something from that list and get, but the thing I asked myself is, if I was moving next week, would I bring this thing with me?
Oh,
and
that's good.
That sounds very silly, but like I've been living in my current condo in San Francisco for several years. So you just kind of like accumulate stuff, right?
As someone who just moved.
Yes. And and so when you moved, I would love to know how that process was for you. But like, I realized there's so many things. Like, would I cart this item to another place? Like, do I need like 35 different coffee mugs from like coffee shop?
I got rid of a bunch.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is also something where like, if in that moment, even a part of me is like, I'm not sure I would move this item I have not yet bought, I probably don't need to buy that thing.
Yeah. Does anybody have like a mom who was like, you might need it later?
Oh.
Like, I have a mom who's so well-intentioned, but she's like, it's the John Mulaney, like, it can be a sleep shirt. It's like,
of course.
Like, it's way too big. It doesn't fit. But she's like, oh, you're going to need it. And I think it was Marie Kondo who was like, if it's under like $20, you can buy it again.
Yeah.
Like if you truly need it. And so I get rid of stuff all the time now. I'm like, again, if I need it in 3 years, I'll buy it again.
I have a not spicy, but whatever the right adjective follow up to that. I love the Marie Kondo method of sparking joy. I also heard about something called the poop test. Has anyone heard about this?
Oh, that if it had poop on it, would you rub
keep
it off?
Or would you clean it or would you throw it away? And I swear that is more useful than any, like a lot of things spark joy when you're like, or nothing. And you're like, I would throw most of these things away. Can use that one too.
I don't know if this story is Intuit Credit Karma approved, but I did once drop my phone into a porta potty.
No.
And I dug it out. It was on top.
Yeah.
And then I disinfected everything 17 times. I'm sorry. I was broke. I needed the phone.
To tell the tale.
I lived to tell the tale.
Oh.
Everybody's like, oh, I shook her hand before.
I was at a music festival this weekend, and anytime there was a bathroom break, people were like, you hold everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I will never do it again.
No.
I will never put it in a pocket. Everything's secured.
Yep.
When we're talking about like, this is a hard pivot. I'm like, how do I pivot out of this very horrible confession?
It's a relatable story.
When we think about the outside pressure beyond social media, like when your friend's like, hey,
yeah,
come to my bachelorette party and spend $5,000 or come out to dinner for the first time this week. How do you set boundaries while still getting to see your friends?
Yeah. FOMO spending is so real. I think the first thing I'd say is it's okay to be conflicted about these things. Like to your point earlier, and I'm always saying, like, I always want to spend my money. My best use of spending my money is on experiences with people I love.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of opportunities to spend money on experiences with people you love. And we should all be so lucky, but it's also like you have to be mindful. And so I think the couple of things that I say in this situation and have said to myself is understand like how much do you actually have to spend? And that's why like going back to that, the budget, the B word, or just knowing where you stand is so important. So you know like, hey, yeah, I can probably swing that $100 concert, or actually like every single cent needs to go towards debt pay down. It's like knowing where you stand is really important. And I think the other thing that's really important is just doing what we're doing right now and talking about it.
Yeah.
Because it can be so hard if your friend's like, let's do this thing together, and you're in your own head. Like, what's this going to do? Am I going to go into credit card debt? Am I going to be able to do this? Is she going to hate me forever? Blah, blah, blah. Have the conversation. Like most people have had money challenges at some point, or at least know somebody who does. And you might find that maybe there's another great plan that could be cheaper where you could still catch up and enjoy that. And so I think knowing what you can spend and having that idea and then also having the conversation can really help you at least navigate those emotional decisions a little bit more easily.
Yeah. And I think as we gear up for the holidays too, it is one of those things like holidays feel very high pressure of like, I need to spend on activities and I need to buy people the perfect gift. And like, if you're going into credit card debt to prove to somebody how much you love them, like that's just really hard. Okay. So we have so many questions, both from you all and from our Instagram at her first 100K. Okay. So a dilemma around weddings. And I kind of led into this.
Yeah.
It is never ending, especially if you're a woman. It's the engagement party. It's the shower. It's the bachelorette. It's the wedding. It's the like wedding weekend now. Like weddings are like a week-long affair. So how do we say yes to something? Like how do we determine what we can afford?
Yeah. The wedding topic, we could go all day on this.
Yeah.
It is so, it's the perfect combination of things where it's something fun, there's FOMO, there's a relationship at stake with a friend, and there's money at stake, and it's a one-time thing. So it's not like the
Hopefully.
gift. Well, actually, that's true.
Hopefully it's a one-time thing.
I'm getting to the second weddings, they're much smaller.
Yeah.
But it is so hard. So I think the first thing is like recognizing this is really hard. In my mid-20s, I remember so crystal clear that one of my friends wasn't even an expensive situation, but there was a shower, there was a bachelorette party, there was something else, there was actual wedding, and I spent like a couple of $1,000s. And I did not have a couple of $1,000s to spend, but at the time I went into credit card debt, and I never even thought about like, hey, maybe we could talk about this. So I love that people are talking about it. I think for me, the recommendation I give and have used myself is one, this is all coming back to like knowing where you stand, right? Like how much money you have to spend on it, and then two, reflect on like which of these events, if you need to pick, is going to be the most meaningful. And that's going to be different for everybody.
I love that. That's
Sometimes
so
your
smart.
friend like really wants you at the wedding, even if it's just 200 people, and you're just going to be like, hey, Tori, and the Courtney, like they want you there. And maybe in another situation, it's like, I would actually really rather you be at my bachelorette party because you're one of my best friends and we can spend quality time together. But being open about like, I might need to make a choice. And then, you know, as much as you feel comfortable with like involving your friends in that decision, or just simply saying, I wish I could celebrate with you, but I can't. I'd love to see you next time you're in the city. people who are truly your friends will get it. They will be disappointed because they love you. And of course, you want the people you love at your events. But it is, I think, not the relationship ender that people make it out on. If you spend too much time on like wedding shaming on Reddit, you'll probably see that it can in fact be that.
Am I the asshole?
Exactly. Plenty of internet drama, but your real friends will know and understand and like want you to make good decisions. And so involve them in that conversation.
Yeah, you gave the exact advice I would give. I think all of that is so important. And also just like level setting expectations. Like we're so nervous as a culture to talk about money because it feels really scary. And especially when it is such a this is your big day and there's so much pressure already. And it's just like, hi, I want to support you. I can't afford to in this way. So let's figure out how I can show up for you in a way that makes sense for both of us. Because I think that's the conversation you have to have. Because I don't want you feeling resentful. I don't want there being, again, we want to have a joyous occasion where no one's mad at anybody. Yeah. Okay. What is the best way to budget and plan for big financial goals when your income isn't consistent month to month?
This one is so hard. I have so much empathy. I've been there. Like there's so many people out there who have irregular income and it makes it so difficult. So I think, and I know I'm probably a broken record, but like just knowing what's coming in, right? You can look at one thing I like to suggest, not a golden rule for everybody as it is personal. Look at like the last however many months you've got, right? Maybe it's 6, 12, 18. Figure out what you're kind of seeing. Look at that average. Maybe haircut it a little bit just to be safe, right? There's going to be months that are, higher or lower. And then build a budget around that. And then have anything that comes in after that be money that you can put towards savings. And then those savings could be potentially something that you could draw from if you do have like an emergency month, like a really, really low month. But I think it's always really important to budget for, I don't say the worst case situation, because the worst case situation for income is probably $0 or more debt, but make sure you are being conservative in how you are planning around your monthly required expenses, things like your rent, your groceries, your gas, and then be very, very, very cognizant of anything beyond that. So that's the first starting point I recommend for folks.
I think that's great. Yeah, I talk about everybody should know their ramen noodle number.
Love
that's
that.
the bare amount of money you need to make in order to get by. So like, what is your rent? What are your groceries? What's your insurance? What's daycare costs? Second mortgage for most people. But like, that's the number you need to have in mind so that if you're a freelancer, if you're a tipped worker, if your income is very volatile, you know, okay, this is the bare amount of money I need to be making. And if you're a business owner, right, that is after taxes. So you've taken 30% to Uncle Sam at least, and then you figured out, okay, what does this actually look like for me?
And that whole living below your means at any income level is what's going to build wealth. And so I think there's an opportunity here to, if you're focusing on that ramen noodle number and have other stuff, anything beyond that going generally into savings account, you might look up a few months from now and be like, wow, I didn't realize I would be able to actually be saving this money. And so it's a great way to start building those habits of figuring out what you really need and then being intentional, like we were talking about those splurges beyond that.
Yeah. We can't not talk about student loans. How do we pay it off? Like, how do we manage some student loan balances that, you know, are more mild, maybe a couple $1,000s, but I have followers, it's $100,000 of student loans.
Right.
Like, how do we work to manage that? What's the first step?
I know there's a lot of student loan anxiety right now, always. The cost of education has been high, but, you know, especially with some of the changes over recent years, the first thing you need to do, understand what your options are. Calling your loan servicer is a great option. Again, I know a lot of us don't like picking up the phone. We'd rather, you know, do
walk into the ocean. Walk into the river.
Exactly. But you really understand, like, get in touch with your loan servicer. This is the first, like, bringing the ostrich head out of the sand. And understand if there's payment, repayment or different payment plans available to you. There probably are. There often are, based on if, you know, your income is lower than you might feel like you need to have to be able to pay. Like, you know, I've heard from folks with multiple $1,000 a month payments. Start there. That's a great way to figure out what your options are. And then once you know what those are, then you can come back and go back to that budget and that ramen noodle number to be like, how am I going to make sure each month that I'm putting aside money at the beginning of the month to make those payments? Because you do not want to ignore them. Back to our earlier conversation about credit scores, you can start, we do see on our platform at Credit Karma that there are many folks, even who start out with great credit scores, who went delinquent on their student loans for many life reasons that might be happening and saw a really big impact on their score. So knowing what your options are is really important.
Yeah. And I think with debt of all kinds, not all debt is the same. So I think a lot of people think about, okay, credit card debt and student loan debt and a mortgage, all of it is debt. And I'm like, debt is very different depending on the interest rate or depending on how the interest accrues. Like credit cards, the interest rate is really high, the interest compounds, and the interest compounds daily. That is very unique for debt. And so you have to kind of prioritize and think of all of your debt slightly different as opposed to like lumping it all together, especially when you're trying to piecemeal it to get a plan together to pay it off.
Right. And with the credit card debt, I love that you call that out because it is just wild how quickly it can balloon.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about, make sure you pay off that high interest credit card debt first. The other thing I just want people to remember is I think it can also be easy to just be focusing on the credit card debt and maybe forget about a student loan payment or something else.
Sure.
And you still want to make sure you're making the minimum required payments on any other debt or a mortgage if you happen to have one, something like that, to make sure you're maintaining that positive credit history.
Yeah.
But doing anything you can to reduce credit card debt is going to be really helpful for your financial life.
I can't believe I've gone this long without talking about investing.
Oh,
that's
great.
It's like credit cards and investing are my two favorite personal finance topics.
Perfect. Me too.
I think we know the stats, especially around women. Like we make less because of the pay gap.
Yeah.
But we also wait to invest compared to men or don't invest at all because we think it's too risky or we think it's so jargon heavy that you're worried about making the wrong choice. So how do you think about saving for retirement while also prioritizing paying off debt?
This is the question. I think that we could probably debate this, for hours. And how do I what's the right hierarchy of my financial needs? And I think with retirement, it's really interesting because it might feel so far away, but compound interest is just one of the most incredible concepts to learn in personal finance.
Yeah.
I wish I had put my $5 a month allowance when I was 10 into like the S&P 500.
I know you can afford a house.
I know, right?
You've seen those memes that it's like, if I was born in 94, if I started in 95, right? It's like,
But then my cheesy thing would be like, that would be the best time. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
Because you're going to, hopefully we're all going to get older and like, you're going to be there. And so if you have that time, like any money that you can be investing has that opportunity to grow. And so my number one encouragement is figure out how to start, even if it's just with a little bit of money.
Yes.
I know it feels impossible if you're 25 to think about retiring, especially just with that time horizon. It's very intimidating, but building that habit now, even if you don't have like a high salary, that's a habit that you can build upon. I love the idea of paying yourself first, even if it's $20 a month. Have that go into your 401k, have that go into like a robo-advisor and just set it and forget it. And being able to start seeing those funds grow is one of the most exciting things, honestly, that I think you can experience when it comes to investing. And so, and the last thing I would say there is, I know 401k matches are not always available, unfortunately, but if you do have one available, even if you're juggling other financial priorities, that's really one of the closest things to free money that you're going to get in today's day and age. And so making sure you take advantage of that and allowing it to, continue to compound is so important.
Yeah. My last question for you, and this is so helpful, so thank you. When you think about having knowledge around money, what does that mean for someone who is struggling with their personal finances? Like, how can they invest in their own education around money?
It is so empowering to know what to do with your money. And it's like, it can feel so intimidating and scary to even start, but like, just being able to come together, listening to these conversations, like picking up a book and saying like, what are just the main things that I can be doing is so important and will really help set you up for the rest of your life. And I think the number one thing I tell people is like, everyone's starting somewhere and progress is so personal. And so treat yourself with grace, understand where you are, know that no matter what, there's hundreds, thousands, millions of people who have been exactly where you are, and take this newfound information, bring it to your friends, bring it to people, be having those conversations in your spaces. Yeah. And that way we can all be lifting each other up a little every single day and, hopefully working towards a brighter financial future.
Yeah. Please plug away. Tell us where people can find out more about Credit Karma, all of the tools and resources. And I've been using, this is not just like, because I'm here. I've been using Credit Karma for 10 years. Like it's so helpful and it's so beneficial to see those numbers and see what's going on. So plug away, my friend.
Thank you. You can download the Credit Karma mobile app or check us out at creditkarma.com.
I love it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Courtney Alev for joining us and to Credit Karma for sponsoring this episode and the live podcast event. It was truly so nice. I got to meet a bunch of the people in the audience. It was just gorgeous. It was like in one of my favorite spots in the city with a sweeping view of the rivers and the bridges. And it was a great event. So thank you to Credit Karma for sponsoring this episode and for supporting Financial Feminist and our company. It means the world to us. And again, you can head on over to herfirst100k.com/ffpod to get personalized, judgment-free insights on how to pay off debt and make your money work harder for you from Credit Karma. Thank you as always for being here, Financial Feminists. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to Financial Feminist, a Her First 100K podcast. For more information about Financial Feminist, Her First 100K, our guests, and episode show notes, visit financialfeministpodcast.com. If you're confused about your personal finances and you're wondering where to start, go to herfirst100k.com/quiz for a free personalized money plan. Financial Feminist is hosted by me, Tori Dunlap. Produced by Kristen Fields and Tamisha Grant. Research by Sarah Shortino. Audio and video engineering by Alyssa Midcalf. Marketing and operations by Karina Patel and Amanda LeFew. Special thanks to our team at Her First 100K. Kaylin Sprinkle, Masha Bakmakieva, Sasha Bonar, Ray Wong, Elizabeth McCumber, Daryl Ann Ingman, Shelby Duclos, Megan Walker, and Jess Hawks. Promotional graphics by Mary Stratton, photography by Sarah Wolf, and theme music by Jonah Cohen Sound. A huge thanks to the entire Her First 100K community for supporting our show.